over the next few days. Thank you very much. Now, a country's wealth often lies in its natural resources, and that includes the blue economy. Fishing provides livelihoods to some 820 million people worldwide. However, according to a new report by the Financial Transparency Coalition, as much as 1/5 of all that's global fishing is being defined as illegal, unreported and unregulated. Now let's put a figure to that. That is an estimated loss of $50 billion a year. And that makes it the third most lucrative natural resource crime after timber and mining. Now the UN calls it an ocean emergency, with more than 90% of assessed fish stocks close to being exhausted or depleted. Let's add into that mix climate change, and you can see how the issue of food security becomes even more perilous. Half of these illegal, unreported, unregulated commercial vessels are actually located in Africa alone. That amounts to a loss of nearly $11.5 billion a year. Now, the report also found that the majority of these vessels operate in West Africa, costing this region nearly $9.5 billion in illicit financial flows. Imagine what that money could do. Well, the impact on the local community is devastating. In Senegal, for example, local fish stocks have depleted so drastically that local fishermen are travelling further into foreign waters to source fish. And as a result, well, the prices of what should be a staple food is increasing. The report also highlighted the role played in this activity by a number of African governments, including Liberia and Ghana. And it's the latter where, after China, Ghana has the second highest number of these vessels registered as a cover for foreign operators. And again, most of those foreign operators originate from China. So, where is all this fish going? Where is the demand? Well, to help us understand the impact of all of this, I'm joined now by Lakshmi Kumar, who is the Policy Director at Global Financial Integrity. And they contributed to the report I've just taken you through. Joining us from Washington, Lakshmi, thank you for joining us here. I mean, the figures are absolutely staggering. Where is the demand coming from? Where is this fish going?
Absolutely. I mean, when you put it down into numbers, it's shocking. And in terms of where the demand goes, the demand is really the EU, the US, and Japan account for about 55% of the market. But there is a larger conversation in the way we consume seafood. In the 1960s, seafood consumption was around 9 kilograms per capita. Fast forward to 2018, and it's at about 20.5 kilograms. And so consumption globally has grown at a rate of about 3.1%, but you're seeing that fish populations are only growing at a rate at 1.6%. So that's a huge mismatch right there. And added to the fact that you see that the bulk of this consumption growth is concentrated between the US, EU, and Japanese markets. And that tells you the tale of sort of what is the supply and demand mechanics here that really have resulted in the current situation that we have.
Lakshmi, I'm just hearing you mention the EU and fishing, and it's ironic, isn't it? Because when you think back in terms of Brexit and the EU, how key and how critical fishing played in the deal that was finally struck for Brexit between the UK and the EU. For the EU to know that they are accepting fish that has come and has been sourced and fished illegally, it is quite striking, isn't it?
No, and I think that's one of the things the report particularly points to is a Spanish fishing company called Albacore SA. It is one of the largest tuna fishing vessels in the world, is the largest fleet of tuna fishing vessels. It has received several subsidies from the EU, most notably between 2006 and 2011, where they received over $1 million, and subsequently they received close to $3 million to build new vessels. Now, they have been implicated in IUU fishing even during the period when they receive these subsidies. In addition, their vessels have just turned off their transponders, so they go dark and you can't detect them. For a period of close to 9 months and 28 days, they just turned off the transponders and you could not detect them. So it raises the question is why are companies that are implicated in really gross behavior as regards IUU fishing receive subsidies from the EU?
Okay, let's go local, because the devastation on the impact on the local communities is also something that can't be ignored. Their fish, the types of fish that they're eating are disappearing because it's all been taken out of the sea. The money, the livelihoods are going. In any way, is there any comeback for them? Are the governments helping them?
Now, and as is always the case, the answer is never simple. It is quite complex. The truth is, governments have, Namibia, Senegal, Ghana have said that, fish resources are a priority and they want to work towards protecting them. And so you've seen sort of laws get passed which say that only local vessels or domestically registered vessels can ship. Maybe the exception is with the tuna trawling. But as you mentioned right at the outset, what happens is a lot of those time, like in the case of Ghana, 90% of those registrations are on paper Ghanaian vessels, but in reality, they are just Chinese shipping vessels trawling in these waters. So on paper, we see reform, but you're also having to deal with...
Lakshmi, I'm just going to jump in, because that to me just says corruption, doesn't it?
Yes, you're dealing with systemic corruption also at its heart. And so and so one of the ways to counteract that is to talk about the demand side of this and what can countries that are consumers of IUU fish products actually do in terms of both resourcing countries where they're taking the supply from, but also making sure that on their end there are better supply chain due diligence processes where you aren't an active contributor to food insecurity in the developing world.
Okay, Lakshmi Kumar, there's so much for us to talk about, but thank you for the time you've given us today. That is Lakshmi Kumar. Thank you very much, Policy Director at Global Financial Integrity.
Thank you.